A vampire king meets his ex and a baby in an elevator. She tries to escape, but the doors jam. Torches burned with blue flame along the halls, casting soft shadows that never fully rested. The citadel was quiet but not empty. It breathed with old magic. Inside, an elevator moved upward through the heart of the tower. It was not made of metal alone, but of spellbound stone and silver lines carved with ancient words. The elevator hummed softly as it climbed, slow and steady, as if it carried more than weight, as if it carried fate. Aloan stood inside, her back straight, her breath shallow. She held a baby close to her chest, wrapped in a dark cloak lined with silver thread. The child slept peacefully, unaware of where he was, unaware of how dangerous this place could be. His small fingers curled into the fabric of her dress, trusting, warm, alive. Aloan looked down at him, then away, her jaw tight. She should not be here. She had promised herself never to return to the night citadel, not after everything that had happened, not after the silence, the exile, the years spent running from shadows and memories. Yet here she was, standing inside the very heart of the vampire realm. The elevator passed another floor. The sound echoed like a slow heartbeat. Aloan adjusted her grip on the child. Her eyes moved to the doors, tall, dark, marked with the royal seal of the obsidian throne. She counted her breaths, trying to stay calm. This was supposed to be simple. Enter, rise, leave the child where the old laws demanded, then disappear again before anyone noticed. But her hands were shaking. The baby stirred, letting out a soft sound. Aloan lowered her head and whispered gently, words meant only for him. The sound of her voice steadied her more than anything else. "It will be all right," she said, though she was not sure she believed it. The elevator slowed. Her heart jumped. The doors began to open. Aloan's eyes lifted and her breath caught. A figure stood outside the elevator, tall and still, dressed in dark royal clothing without a crown. His presence filled the space around him, heavy and commanding, as if the tower itself bowed to him. His hair was dark as night, his face pale and sharp, carved by time that had never touched him. King Valor, the vampire king, the man she had not seen in 20 years. For a moment the world seemed to stop. Valor did not move at first. His eyes met hers, and something unreadable passed through them. Surprise, disbelief, and something deeper that he hid too quickly. Aloan's body reacted before her mind could think. She turned sharply, stepping back, reaching for the control rune beside the door. Panic rose in her chest like fire. She could not be trapped here, not with him. "Close," she whispered, pressing her palm against the rune. The elevator shuddered. The doors began to slide shut, then they stopped. A loud grinding sound filled the chamber. The walls vibrated. The silver lines along the stone flared, then dimmed. The doors froze halfway closed. Aloan stared at them, her pulse racing. "No," she breathed. Valor stepped forward. With one smooth motion, he placed his hand against the door. The elevator reacted to his touch, the runes glowing faintly in response to royal blood. The doors sealed shut completely. The elevator was now closed and stuck. Silence fell, thick and heavy. Aloan turned slowly. Valor stood only a few steps away. Up close he looked exactly as he had before, unchanged by years, untouched by age. His eyes were dark, deep, and sharp with thought, but there was tension in his posture. "You came back," he said at last. His voice was calm, low, and controlled. It was the voice of a king who ruled monsters and men alike. Yet beneath it was something unsteady, something held tightly in check. Aloan did not answer. She shifted the baby slightly, turning her body so he was shielded from Valor's view. Her silence was not weakness. It was protection. The elevator lights dimmed, responding to the strange energy filling the space. The air felt thicker, charged with old magic and old pain. Valor's gaze followed her movement. Then his eyes dropped. To the child, everything about him changed. His stillness broke just slightly. His breath caught, though he tried to hide it. His eyes narrowed, not in anger but in shock. "That child," he said slowly. "Why do you carry him here?" Aloan's fingers tightened around the cloak. "He is none of your concern," she replied. Her voice was steady, but her heart was not. Speaking to him again felt like opening a wound that had never healed. Vaylor's eyes lifted to her face. "You vanished without a word," he said. "You broke every bond, ignored every call. And now you return here of all places carrying a child." He paused. "A living child." The last words were almost a whisper. Aloan swallowed. The baby stirred again, his small face turning toward the sound of Vaylor's voice. His eyes fluttered open. They were gold. Not vampire red, not human brown. Gold like dawn breaking through darkness. The elevator reacted at once. The silver runes along the walls lit up, crawling like living lines of light. The floor vibrated. The hum of magic grew louder, sharper. Vaylor took a sharp breath. "That is impossible," he said. Aloan pulled the child closer, fear flashing through her. "Do not look at him," she said, too late. The baby looked directly at Vaylor and smiled. Something ancient stirred in the tower. Vaylor felt it before he understood it. A pull deep in his chest, sharp and sudden like a memory waking from sleep. The curse that had lived in his blood for centuries shifted, reacting to the child's presence. His hand moved without thought, pressing against his own chest. "What have you done?" he asked quietly. Aloan's eyes burned. "What I had to," she said. "What you would not." The words hung between them, heavy with meaning. The elevator jerked suddenly, dropping a short distance before stopping again. The baby cried out softly, startled. Aloan rocked him gently, murmuring comfort. The walls whispered. Old voices bound to the tower began to murmur in a language older than kings. Vaylor turned, scanning the runes. "The citadel has sensed him," he said. "It knows." "That is why I came," Aloan replied. "The laws demand he be acknowledged." "And destroyed," Vaylor said. She met his gaze, fierce and unafraid. "Not while I breathe." Silence fell again. Vaylor studied her face, searching for lies, for weakness. He found neither. Instead, he saw exhaustion, strength, and a quiet fire that had not been there before. "You should have told me," he said. Aloan laughed softly, without humor. "And say what?" she asked. "That the king who chose his throne over love had a son he was never meant to have." Vaylor flinched. The elevator lights flickered. The tower groaned, deep and low, like a giant waking from sleep. Vaylor stepped closer, slowly, carefully, as if approaching something fragile. "Aloan," he said. It was the first time he had spoken her name aloud in decades. Her breath caught despite herself. The child reached out, tiny fingers brushing the edge of Vaylor's sleeve. The runes blazed bright white. The elevator lurched again, then stopped completely. A deep voice echoed through the chamber, not Vaylor's, not Aloan's, but something older. "The bloodline stirs." Aloan's heart sank. Vaylor closed his eyes briefly. The tower had spoken. The child's presence had awakened the ancient magic that ruled succession, curse, and fate. When Vaylor opened his eyes again, they were dark with realization. "This changes everything," he said. Aloan tightened her hold on the baby. "That," she replied softly, "was always the truth." The elevator remained sealed, suspended between floors, between past and future, and the citadel began to judge. The elevator did not move. It hung in the tower like a paused breath, trapped between two worlds. The silver runes on the walls glowed faintly, no longer burning bright but watching, listening. Aloan stood still, her back against the cold stone wall. The baby had stopped crying and now rested quietly in her arms, his golden eyes half open, calm in a place that should have frightened him. Vaylor stood opposite her. The space between them felt smaller than it was. The air carried weight, of old words never spoken, of choices made too late. The tower's voice faded, but its presence remained. "You should not have come," Vaylor said at last. His tone was firm but not cruel. It was the voice of a ruler trying to hold order over something already breaking. Aloan lifted her chin. "I had no choice," she replied. "The citadel would have found him eventually." Vaylor's eyes dropped again to the child. "How long?" he asked. Aloan did not pretend not to understand. "How long have you known?" he repeated. She hesitated. "Since the night I left," she said. Vaylor closed his eyes briefly. That answer cut deeper than any accusation. The elevator shook slightly, reacting to the emotions within it. The runes flickered again, crawling slowly like living light. Vaylor moved toward the control panel, placing his hand over the ancient symbols. He whispered a command under his breath, one only the king could use. Nothing happened. His jaw tightened. "The tower has locked us here," he said, "until judgment is made." Aloan's grip on the child tightened. "What judgment?" she asked. Vaylor did not answer right away. Instead, he turned to face her fully. "The citadel exists to protect the realm," he said. "It recognizes blood, power, and threat. A living child of my line is all three." Aloan stepped forward, anger flashing in her eyes. "He is not a threat," she said. "He is a child." Vaylor met her gaze. "The tower does not see children," he said quietly. "Only outcomes." The baby stirred again, sensing the tension. He lifted his small hand and reached outward, touching the air between them. The runes dimmed. Vaylor froze. He stared at the child's hand, his expression shifting from control to confusion. The curse in his blood moved again. He had lived with it for centuries. A weight, a constant presence, a rule carved into his bones. The curse bound him to darkness, to rule without softness, to never create life that could undo it. Yet here it was, responding. "This should not be possible," Vaylor whispered. Aloan watched him closely. "You always believed the curse was absolute," she said, "that nothing could change it." "It was written by the first coven," Vaylor replied, "bound by blood and death." "And still," Aloan said, "here he is." The baby made a small sound, almost a laugh. The elevator lights brightened slightly. Vaylor stepped back, his face pale. Memories surfaced without warning. Aloan standing beside him under moonlight years ago, her hand in his, her laughter soft and real. The moment he learned of the prophecy, the fear that followed, the decision that broke them both. "You should have trusted me," Aloan said. He looked at her sharply. "I was trying to protect you," he said. "By sending me away," she asked. "By silence. By letting me believe I meant nothing." Vaylor opened his mouth, then closed it again. The truth had no easy shape. "I believed distance would keep you alive," he said finally. "Anyone close to me becomes a target." Aloan's voice softened, but her pain remained. "You do not protect someone by erasing them," she said. The elevator shuddered again, responding to the emotional weight. The tower whispered once more, its voice low and distant. "The blood remembers." Vaylor looked upward. "It is testing him," he said, "and me." Aloan shifted the baby in her arms. "What happens if it decides against us?" she asked. Vaylor's silence was answer enough. The baby reached again, this time touching Vaylor's coat. The runes flared, then softened. Vaylor felt something crack inside him. Slowly, carefully, he knelt. It was an act no one had seen him do in centuries. He lowered himself to the child's level, his movements gentle, unsure. The baby studied him with open curiosity. Vaylor extended one finger. The child wrapped his hand around it. Warm, alive. The curse recoiled. Vaylor gasped, pulling his hand back, his breath sharp. Aloan moved forward instinctively. "What did you feel?" she asked. Vaylor looked at his hand as if it no longer belonged to him. "Hope," he said. The word sounded strange on his tongue. The elevator trembled again, then steadied. For a moment everything was quiet. Then the control runes lit up red. A new voice echoed through the chamber, colder than before. "The air stands unclaimed." Aloan's heart dropped. "What does that mean?" she asked. Vaylor rose to his feet, his expression hardening. "It means the tower demands acknowledgement," he said, "public binding and dangerous." "And if you refuse?" Aloan asked. Vaylor met her gaze. "Then the tower will act," he said. "It will label him an error." Aloan's breath caught. "No," she said, "I will not let that happen." She turned toward the door as if sheer will could force it open. Vaylor placed a hand on her arm. Running will not save him, he said gently. It never does. She looked at his hand, then at his face. You ask me to trust you again, she said. After everything. Valor did not deny it. I ask you to let me choose differently, he said. The baby yawned, unaware of the weight placed upon him. Aloan closed her eyes. Memories flooded her mind, nights spent hiding, fear, strength found alone, love buried but not dead. She opened her eyes again. If I stay, she said, you will not take him from me. Valor shook his head. I would never, he said. You will not turn him into a symbol, she continued, or a weapon. I swear it, Valor replied. The runes pulsed, reacting to his words. The tower listened. Aloan hesitated, then nodded once. Then we face this together, she said. The elevator suddenly lurched, descending without warning. Aloan cried out, clutching the baby tightly. Valor stepped closer, bracing himself as the walls shook. They were moving downward. To the lower levels, Valor said, the place of judgment. The air grew colder as they descended. The runes darkened, glowing with deep red light. The baby whimpered softly. Aloan pressed her forehead to his. I am here, she whispered. Valor watched them, something heavy and fierce rising in his chest. The elevator slowed. Then stopped. The doors creaked. Stone scraped against stone. A crack of pale light appeared. Beyond it waited the ancient chamber where laws were enforced without mercy. Valor stepped forward. Stay close, he said. Aloan nodded, fear and resolve burning together in her eyes. The doors opened wider, and the tower prepared to pass judgment. Cold air flowed into the elevator, heavy with old magic and silence. Beyond the doors lay the judgment hall, a vast chamber carved deep into the heart of the night's citadel. The ceiling rose so high it vanished into shadow. Tall stone pillars lined the room, each carved with the faces of past kings and queens, eyes closed, mouths sealed, forever watching. The elevator stopped moving. Aloan stepped forward slowly, holding the baby close. Every step echoed across the stone floor. The child sensed the change in the air and grew quiet, his small body tense against her. Valor walked beside her. For the first time in many years, he felt uncertain inside his own kingdom. The judgment hall was not ruled by guards or soldiers. It was ruled by law older than memory. Magic lived here, awake and aware, shaped by centuries of fear, control, and sacrifice. As they reached the center of the chamber, the doors behind them closed on their own. The sound echoed like a final answer. A low hum filled the hall. The carved faces on the pillars began to glow faintly, their eyes opening one by one with pale light. Aloan's breath caught. They are watching, she whispered. Valor nodded. The ancestors, he said. Their will is bound to this place. The baby stirred. As if in response, the light grew brighter. Symbols formed in the air, floating above the stone floor. Ancient words appeared, sharp and glowing. A voice rose from every direction at once. The child stands between curse and crown. Aloan tightened her hold. He is not your tool, she said, her voice steady but fierce. The voice did not answer her. It turned to Valor. King of Night, do you claim the blood? Valor felt the weight of centuries pressed down on him. To claim the child meant accepting the prophecy he had feared all his life. It meant risking the curse spreading or breaking or destroying everything he had built. To refuse meant condemning the child as an error of fate. Valor looked at Aloan. She did not speak. She did not beg. She simply held their child and waited. Memories rushed through Valor's mind. The night he learned of the prophecy, the fear that had filled him like poison, the council's warnings, the faces of those who had died because they stood too close to him, and Aloan. Her trust, her love, her silence when he sent her away. I thought ruling without love would keep the world safe, Valor said quietly. The hall listened. I believed distance was strength, he continued. That fear was control. The carved faces flickered. Aloan's eyes softened, but her pain did not fade. And what did it cost? She asked. Valor swallowed. Everything that mattered, he said. The baby lifted his head, golden eyes shining in the pale light. He reached out again, not afraid, not confused, only curious. The runes shifted. The curse inside Valor stirred violently as if fighting itself. He dropped to one knee. The sound echoed through the hall. Eloin gasped. No vampire king had knelt here in centuries. Valor bowed his head. "I will not let him be destroyed," he said. "I will not rule if the price is his life." The hall trembled. The voice rose again. "To protect the blood, the king must surrender the throne." Eloin's heart stopped. Valor did not hesitate. "I accept," he said. The carved faces glowed brighter, reacting to his words. Eloin stepped forward. "No," she said, "you cannot give up everything." Valor looked at her. "For once," he said, "I choose you." The baby made a small sound as if sensing the shift. The chamber shook harder now. Cracks spread along the stone floor, the pillars groaned. But the voice did not sound satisfied. "Sacrifice alone is not enough." Valor frowned. "What more do you demand?" he asked. The symbols in the air rearranged themselves. The curse was born of fear. It feeds on loveless rule. Eloin's breath caught. She understood. "The curse is not broken by loss," she said slowly. "It is broken by change." The hall fell silent. Valor looked at her, realization spreading across his face. "I was taught to rule without weakness," he said, "to never allow closeness." "And that belief built this prison," Eloin replied. The baby reached toward both of them now. Eloin hesitated, then stepped closer to Valor. She placed the child between them. The golden light from the baby's eyes filled the space. The curse screamed inside Valor's blood, then began to crack. Valor felt it, pain, fear, and then something else, release. The hall shook violently. The carved faces flickered, some dimming, others crumbling into dust. The voice rose again, strained now. "This path has never been walked." Valor stood, his voice strong. "Then let us be the first," he said. Eloin met his gaze. "We do this together," she said. "Or not at all." Valor nodded. The baby laughed softly. Light flooded the hall, washing over the ancient stone. The runes shattered, breaking into sparks that faded like stars. For a moment everything went still. Then a sharp sound echoed through the chamber. Footsteps. From the shadows beyond the pillars, figures emerged. Members of the High Council, cloaked in dark robes, their eyes cold and calculating. One stepped forward. "This is treason," the council leader said. "The king weakens the realm." Valor turned to face them. "No," he said, "I strengthen it." The council members' gaze fell to the child. "That thing threatens our rule," he said. Eloin stepped in front of the baby. "He threatens your fear," she said. The council raised their hands, ancient magic gathering. Valor moved instantly, placing himself between them and Eloin. "You will not touch them," he said. The council leader smiled. "Then you force our hand," he replied. The ground beneath the hall began to split. The tower screamed. The curse, wounded but not gone, surged wildly. Eloin clutched the baby as the chamber shook around them. Valor reached for her hand. No matter what came next, they would face it together. But as the tower began to collapse, the child's golden eyes flared brighter than ever. And the true cost of breaking the curse was finally revealed. Stone cracked. Light spilled through the ceiling like silver rain. The ancient pillars groaned, their carved faces breaking apart, falling into dust that drifted slowly to the floor. Eloin held the baby tightly against her chest. The child did not cry. Instead, he looked around with calm golden eyes, as if the chaos meant nothing to him. Light gathered softly around his small body, warm and steady, pushing back the darkness that rushed through the hall. Valor stood before Eloin and the child, his body tense, his mind clear. The High Council spread out across the chamber, their dark robes moving like shadows. Fear hid behind their anger. For centuries they had ruled beside the king, shaping the realm through control and old law, and now that control was slipping. "You will doom us all," the council leader shouted over the noise. "The curse holds the realm together." Valor turned to face him. "No," he said. "The curse has been strangling it." The ground split between them, glowing faintly with old magic. The tower's voice rose again, no longer calm but strained. "The balance breaks, choose." Eloin stepped forward. She looked around the hall, the broken laws, the crumbling past, the fear clinging to power. "This place was built on fear," she said. "Fear of change, fear of love, fear of life." The council leader laughed bitterly. "And what would you build instead?" he asked. Eloin looked down at the child. "Hope," she replied. The baby lifted his hand. The golden light flared brighter, spreading across the cracked floor. Wherever it touched, the stone stopped breaking. The curse recoiled, hissing like something wounded. Valor felt it clearly now. The curse was not just magic, it was belief. A belief that darkness must rule alone, that love was weakness, that a king must stand apart from life to control it. Valor took a deep breath. He stepped forward and removed the symbol of the throne from his chest, a dark metal seal worn by every vampire king before him. He placed it on the ground. "I was crowned by fear," he said, "but I will not rule by it anymore." The council leader's eyes widened. "You cannot simply walk away," he said. Valor met his gaze. "I already have." The tower trembled violently. The curse screamed. The baby cried out, not in pain but in power. Light burst outward, filling the hall with gold and white, pushing the shadows back to the walls. Eloin shielded the child, her heart racing. Valor felt the curse tear at him, desperate to remain. He fell to one knee. Pain shot through his body, sharp and burning. Memories flooded his mind, every cruel choice, every lonely night, every moment he believed himself unworthy of love. He heard Eloin call his name. He forced himself to look up. She stood beside him now, one hand on his shoulder, steady and real. "You are not alone," she said. Those words struck deeper than any magic. Valor reached for her hand. Together they stood. The tower's voice rose one last time. To end the curse, the king must become more than a king. Valor understood. He turned to the council. "You feared change because it would end your power," he said. "But this realm does not belong to you." He looked at Eloin. "And it does not belong to me alone." The baby's light surged again, wrapping around Valor like a gentle flame. The curse shattered. Not with an explosion, but with a sigh. Darkness fell away from Valor's blood, lifting like fog at dawn. The cold weight he had carried for centuries vanished. He gasped, stumbling. Eloin caught him. The hall fell silent. The pillars stopped crumbling. The cracks sealed. The ancient runes faded, their power gone. The council members staggered back, their magic gone, their authority broken. The tower was quiet, alive, different. Valor looked at his hands. They no longer trembled with hunger or curse. He felt balanced. Human warmth mixed with immortal strength. The child laughed. Sunlight poured through the broken ceiling, real sunlight. The High Council fled, disappearing into the shadows they once controlled. Eloin looked around in wonder. "The curse is gone," she whispered. Valor nodded slowly. "And so is the old throne." They left the judgment hall together. As they walked through the citadel, doors opened that had been sealed for centuries. Vampires emerged cautiously, staring in disbelief as light-filled halls once ruled only by night. Whispers spread, "The curse is broken. The king has changed. Eloin has returned." At the highest balcony of the tower, Valor stopped. The sun stood low on the horizon, painting the sky with gold and red. He turned to Eloin. "I cannot undo the past," he said. "But I can choose the future." Eloin studied him carefully. "And what future is that?" she asked. "One where I do not rule alone," Valor said. "One where this realm learns to live, not just endure." She looked down at the child. "And him?" she asked. Valor knelt before them. "He will not be raised as a weapon," he said, "nor as a symbol of fear. He will choose his own path." Eloin's eyes softened. "And us?" she asked quietly. Valor rose slowly. "I will not ask you to forget," he said, "only to walk beside me if you choose." Eloin was silent for a long moment. Then she nodded. "I choose," she said. The child reached out, placing one hand on each of them. Light spread gently, warm and calm. The citadel bells rang for the first time in 1,000 years, not for war, but for dawn. Below the tower the realm stirred, old alliances shifted, new paths opened. Darkness did not vanish, but it learned to share the world with light. Valor stood no longer as a cursed king, but as a guardian. Eloin stood not as an exile, but as a bridge between past and future. And the child, born of night and dawn, smiled at a world finally ready to change. The elevator, once trapped between floors, began to move again, upward, toward a future no prophecy had ever dared to name.